All right, today's episode, we're back on the 56. We're back in the shop. Loud and Ugly's gear change, we'll get to that very soon. Just got to get some shim kit ordered for it. But on this episode, we're going to do everything in our power today to get this body lifted off so we can start stripping the frame and get it ready to finish weld. So the last episode on the 56, we did the steering episode. I showed you guys everything about mounting the Vega box, running your drag link, the steering arm setup that we ran off of the spindle. Had a lot of comments and stuff, people worrying about what we did, why we did some things, and some great tips. So took a lot of things into factor. Thank you guys for the tips. Like I said, I don't know everything about this stuff, so it's always good to learn. We actually remounted the steering box in a different location because the steering arm going off the front of the box actually turned it the wrong direction. The steering arm has to come off the back side of the box when it's connected to the front side of the spindle. So there's a lot of things that that you can overlook very quickly if you're trying to get stuff done fast. We're trying to do everything on a budget too, so a lot of people were worried about the spacer on there, on the steering arm that the drag link connects to. Being that this is mainly set up for drag racing, we're going in a straight line. There's not going to be a whole lot of steering all the time on it, so I'm not that worried about it. We are going to weld the spacer to the steering arm when we finish weld everything. So that'll definitely beef it up a lot and should be just as strong as running it directly mounted to the steering arm bracket. So, like I said, we went ahead and mounted the box a little bit further forward. The box used to be mounted right here, right in front of the engine mount. Now we broke it off, we moved it forward, re-tacked it up here. We got the steering arm off the Vega box running backwards, so that sets a drag link at an angle, which is okay. The main concern, like I said, is you want it to be parallel with the axle, which it is still parallel with the axle, nice and straight. Nice and level, that's what you want. Now with the steering box angled down, you see where the steering links are all gonna go to here with the universal joints. It's gonna be at kind of an angle down low. We've got this heim joint here. We got a longer piece that we're gonna use and mount to the side of the engine mount. And that way we can get the right angle and still have good movement.
Now we're at the back of the car. Got this hunky piece of metal that was part of the frame between the two things here, and it was just hanging there like this, and it looked really ugly. And not to mention, I did all the body mounts, and the last two ones were the only ones that didn't drop in place. We got lucky when we put this floor in that they were as close as they were. So I wanted to tweak this over a little bit anyway. So hacked that baby out of there. And we cut a piece of, actually I didn't even have to cut it. It went upstairs in my little junk pile and I found a piece of pipe that fit perfect in between there. And we had to just pry this over a little bit so that my holes lined up good. And now we're gonna have a tubular cross member in there. Look much better, match the other one we put in earlier. So that's where we're at now. We're gonna have Travis tack it in so I don't get burned underneath because I'm afraid of getting burned.
I got my shirt on for welding. So what I do every day is get burnt to death. Dad didn't want to get burnt to death, so now I'm gonna lay under here and tack it up. Not real good, but it works. Okay, we've got the 56 up in the air now. What we're gonna do, our last step before we can kind of yank the body off of this frame, is we wanted to make some outriggers, which are those pieces off of the frame that are going to go for our roll cage to come through the floor and directly mount to the frame. So we're going to use a piece of 2x4 box steel, and this is going to be, we're going to cut them to 10 1/4, and that's going to go right from the frame rail over. That'll leave us a little gap from the inside of the rocker here just so it's not touching the body. And then we'll weld some gussets on the bottom side when we get this frame stripped. It'll make it a little bit easier for us so we don't have to do everything overhead. But tonight, before we pop this body off, we're just gonna cut these out and tack those into place. That way we don't have to do any guesswork with the body off, and then we'll yank the body. We've got the outriggers all squared up to the frame rail right now. Like I said, once we get the body off and flip the frame over to do the finish weld, we'll make our gussets here that go from the bottom of the frame rail to the bottom of the outrigger. You got both the back ones on, and then we decided for the fronts, they're just gonna butt right up next to this body mount. That's an outrigger for the body mount there. So our outrigger for the roll cage will weld kind of butted up right next to this, and that'll get us right where we want on the inside of the car. Got Dad popping body mount. Then we'll set this on the ground, pop our tilt front end off, and then we'll stick these arms right under the body and lift the body up. We'll wheel the frame back there, and then tomorrow we'll get the body on a cart and put outside. Got the body mounts out. We're gonna drop this down now. So we've got Cal's body hanging. It's back on the little wooden sketchy cart that we had outside. The body's just gonna be pushed away for a little while. We gotta gut the rest of this frame. There's a lot of things that we still have to fab up. We're gonna make some end caps for these outriggers, and then put the front outriggers on as well. So it's kind of cool to see it all now with the motor and trans and everything kind of hooked up. It's a little different than the last time we saw it as a bare frame. But now we're gonna finish weld this, get that body out of the way. We're gonna tear apart my mom's old truck that my dad's been building, get that frame rail all back here so that we can finish weld these two frame rails together. So we got a lot of welding and fabricating coming up that I can kind of go through and give you some welding tips as well. So maybe that'll be in the next few episodes here and something you can look forward to. So thanks for watching.